July 22nd, 2006. As the sun dawns over the San Francisco suburb of Daly City, Shereen Mack pulls into the driveway of the home where her daughter Tamika and son-in-law Quincy Norton live with their 2 children. Shereen is worried. Tamika was supposed to have met her earlier that morning at a funeral for a family friend, but she never showed.
We kept calling and calling. No one was able to get a hold of her from the house or the cell phone.
Calls to Tamika's husband Quincy have also gone unanswered. Worried her daughter might be in some sort of trouble, Shereen contacts the local police.
This is Shereen Mack. I'm concerned about my daughter Tamika.
We were dispatched to the Norton's home to do a welfare check on Tamika Norton.
When officers arrive, they use a spare key from a neighbor to enter the front door.
Police department.
Miss Norton!
We entered, we checked in the kitchen area, we checked the living room.
The officers find no sign of Tamika or her family anywhere in the house until they come to the master bedroom.
As soon as we opened the door, we saw a female on the ground in front of the bed, and it was a pool of blood under her.
It's Tamika Norton. Police check her vital signs, but there's no saving her.
She did not have any pulse, and she didn't appear to be breathing.
It's a gruesome scene, but what exactly happened? And where was the rest of Tamika's family? The answer to those questions would plunge investigators headlong down a path of unthinkable darkness. A path that would expose a blistering tale of murder, intrigue, and an all-American love story gone horribly awry. Raised in San Francisco, Tamika Mack was the second of 5 daughters born to Shereen and William Mack. Precocious and quick-witted, there was nothing Tamika loved more than to put a smile on her siblings' faces.
Tamika definitely had quite a sense of humor. She always had you laughing.
By high school, Tamika was getting noticed for more than just her sense of humor. Her statuesque good looks turned heads wherever she went, but Tamika was picky about the men she chose to date.
She was very confident. She knew what she wanted.
What Tamika wanted more than anything was to go to school to become a nurse. But midway through her freshman year at college, a chance encounter on the highway would send her life speeding in an entirely new direction.
It was 1996, and Tamika was going down to East Palo Alto with some friends.
A man pulls on the side of her car and flags her, waves at her to pull over.
Worried the man was trying to warn her about something wrong with her vehicle, Tamika pulled over into the emergency lane. So did the man who flagged her down. But when he approached her car, it wasn't to tell her about a busted taillight or a missing gas cap.
Hey.
Hey, is everything okay?
Yeah, I just couldn't think of a better way to get your number.
Tamika was flattered and asked the man his name. It was Quincy Norton. Tall, dark, handsome. Quincy immediately caught Tamika's eye.
Quincy Norton was a big guy. He was charismatic, nice looking.
Tamika found Quincy very attractive, so they exchanged numbers.
Less than 24 hours after their initial roadside rendezvous, Quincy called Tamika and asked her out. From the moment of their first date, it was clear the chemistry between them was palpable.
I was watching you all. Yeah. So sexy.
They started doing what people do in a normal relationship, going out, going to the movies, bowling, hanging out.
Tamika found herself drawn to Quincy's confidence, and she liked that he was career-minded, working as a manager for a local grocery store chain. In fact, it wasn't long before Tamika confided in her sisters that she was falling in love with Quincy.
Tamika and Quincy's relationship started pretty quickly. They both were very attracted to one another. It seemed like it took off pretty fast.
So fast that just a few months into their relationship, Tamika made a surprise announcement. She and Quincy were expecting.
Tamika was so excited to be a mom. She always talked about being a mother.
In 1997, Tamika gave birth to a son named Jalen. Both she and Quincy were thrilled to be parents. So much so that less than a year later, the couple had another son, Jamal. With 2 young boys and a loving relationship that only seemed to grow stronger by the day, Tamika and Quincy decided to get married in September of 2004. The family then moved into a cozy 3-bedroom house in the San Francisco suburb of Daly City, the kind of dream home Tamika and Quincy longed to raise their family in.
They were just very happy. Everyone commented on how they thought they had the perfect family.
A cozy new home, a loving marriage, 2 beautiful young children. From the outside looking in, Tamika and Quincy Norton had it all. Which makes the terrifying discovery in the couple's house the afternoon of July 22nd, 2006, that much harder to fathom.
They found Tamika in the bedroom, dead, and there was just a whole lot of blood everywhere.
It doesn't take officers long to determine the gruesome cause of death.
It was pretty obvious to anybody with any experience there'd been a stabbing.
As police survey the nightmarish scene, they're confronted by a series of disturbing questions. Namely, how did Tamika end up dead on her master bedroom floor? And more importantly, where are her husband and 2 young children?
The questions I was asking in my mind is, now that we found that one body, are we going to find additional bodies?
Police scour the house, but find no sign of Quincy or the Norton's children. Meanwhile, investigators are now faced with the difficult task of informing Tamika's family of her death.
We all just like took a step back and everyone just went hysterical. My mother collapsed on the ground. We had family members running, falling in the street, screaming. It was just a chaotic scene.
While neighbors try to console Tamika's loved ones, police put out an APB for Quincy Norton and the couple's missing children.
The children were gone, and that was a matter of very great concern. It was a very serious effort to try and locate them.
But before Quincy and the kids can be located, investigators have to untangle an intricate web of lies and betrayal. And in the process, unveil a deadly love triangle no one expects.
You have a good day, okay, buddy?
They say the
A new home in a nice neighborhood, 2 healthy young children, and a passionate marriage. Things couldn't have been better for Tamika and Quincy Norton. But on the morning of July 22nd, 2006, that picture-perfect life is cut tragically short. Police have discovered the body of Tamika Norton dead on her bedroom floor, the victim of a new home in a nice neighborhood, 2 healthy young children, and a passionate marriage. Things couldn't have been better for Tamika and Quincy Norton. But on the morning of July 22nd, 2006, that picture-perfect life is cut tragically short. Police have discovered the body of Tamika Norton dead on her bedroom floor, the victim of a vicious knife attack. Police have also learned that Quincy and the couple's 2 young children have vanished without a trace.
Of course, our concern is for the welfare of the small children as well as the whereabouts of their father.
It was very scary not knowing where the boys was at. We didn't know if they had been harmed, if they were going to be missing for a long time.
While patrol officers fan out in search of Quincy and the children, homicide investigators began searching the crime scene for evidence that might lead them to Tamika's killer. In the home's garage, detectives come across the first clue.
We checked for Tamika's vehicle. Her vehicle was not there.
The missing car suggests 2 very different possibilities. that Quincy and the kids weren't home at the time Tamika was attacked, or that the murderer had stolen the Norton's vehicle and forced the crime's eyewitnesses to accompany him.
Somebody had committed this murder, in which case they would have been in the hands of strangers.
If the second theory is correct, it suggests that Tamika's death might be the byproduct of a botched robbery. But that theory can't explain why, beyond the bloody scene in the bedroom, nothing else in the house appears to have been disturbed.
Even in the bedrooms and the living room, everything was neat and orderly.
Nor does there appear to be any sign of forced entry into the house.
To me, it appeared that someone either entered into the residence with a key and left with a key, or maybe a remote through the garage door opener.
But who with easy access to the Nortons' home would want to harm Tamika, Quincy, or the kids? Police posed that question to Tamika's mother and sisters.
Is there anyone you know may have had issue with Tamika?
No, everybody loved Tamika. Everybody loved my sister.
Tamika's family might have been stumped, but that afternoon, investigators find a telling clue.
There was evidence of blood near the sink. Whoever had done the stabbing had cleaned up at the sink.
But exactly what had been cleaned? Following the blood trail across the counter, investigators key in on a nearby knife block, which contained a couple of knives that appeared to have blood on them.
There were several knives that we paid particular attention to. All those items were collected by the San Mateo County Crime Lab.
Any or all of them could have been involved in the killing. So they processed and gathered all of the knives.
Meanwhile, news of Tamika's shocking homicide and the apparent abduction of Quincy and the kids begins to spread through the Bay Area.
The news media became aware of the incident and began to post information regarding our request in an effort to locate Quincy Norton and the children.
They were canvassing areas looking for them. They were waiting for people to call.
As the search for Quincy and the children drags on, Tamika's family begins to fear the worst.
We pretty much thought that they had met the same demise as their mother.
But just as hope was beginning to fade, police receive a tip from an informant. But it's not related to Quincy or the children's whereabouts. It's about a possible suspect in Tamika's murder. The informant tells police they should take a look at a woman from Quincy Norton's past, a woman named Anitra Johnson.
Anitra Johnson was a childhood friend of Quincy's.
But according to the informant, Anitra and Quincy had grown to be more than just old friends.
You better stop now.
While he was in a relationship with Tamika, he was having an affair with her.
The news piques detectives' interest, but that's when the informant drops an even bigger bombshell about Quincy and Anitra.
She explained that Anitra Johnson and Quincy Norton did in fact have a 5-year-old daughter in common.
When asked to confirm the jaw-dropping revelation, Tamika's family admits that it's true. In fact, not long after Quincy and Anitra got together, Anitra called Tamika and dropped this bombshell.
It ain't his kid. Oh, that's belief.
Anitra called Tamika to let her know that she was still involved with Quincy and that she was 9 months pregnant with his child. And she came to the address to let her know.
What do you mean what I'm doing here? You didn't want to talk to me on the phone, so I came to show you the evidence. 9 months, and it's Quincy. It's not his kid. Yes, it is.
According to Tamika's family, Quincy begged her for forgiveness.
I'm sorry. All I wanted.
How can I trust you? How can I trust you won't do this again?
Just believe me. I promise you.
And swore he'd immediately break things off with Anitra. While heartbroken by Quincy's betrayal, Tamika ultimately decided to stay with her husband.
Tamika was upset about that, but she wanted to save her family and continue their relationship.
But Tamika's family told investigators that while Tamika had been willing to forgive Quincy and begin the work of rebuilding their marriage, Tamika still harbored a grudge against Anitra. A grudge that only got worse after Anitra and Quincy's love child was born.
The women hated each other. They would regularly cuss each other out on the telephone.
Don't you ever call my husband again.
Both seemed to be ready to fight for their man.
Police can't help but wonder, had Tamika's long simmering feud with Anitra finally erupted into murder and ultimately put Quincy and the couple's children in harm's way? The only way for investigators to find out is to bring Anitra Johnson in for questioning. And when they do, what Anitra says will send the case spiraling into a new and even more unthinkable direction.
The special unit has.
For more than 10 years, handsome husband and wife Quincy and Tamika Norton were living the dream life. But in 2006, that life turned into a nightmare. Police had found Tamika stabbed to death in the couple's bedroom, while Quincy and their 2 young children were missing and presumed kidnapped.
We were just afraid for the children. If their mother had been killed, what did that mean for them?
Following an anonymous tip, police are now circling a possible suspect: Quincy's former mistress and Tamika's nemesis, 32-year-old Anitra Johnson.
Anitra Johnson was a childhood friend of Quincy's, and they had had an affair, and it produced a daughter.
Police track Anitra down and bring her back to the station for questioning. Anitra admits she and Tamika aren't exactly best friends.
You and Tamika get along?
No. They didn't like each other, but they did have arguments over Quincy.
But when police inform Anitra that Tamika has been murdered, Anitra appears genuinely shocked.
What if I was to tell you that Tamika was discovered in your home last night?
Really? She also vehemently denies any involvement with the murder or the disappearances of Quincy and the kids.
No, I had no idea.
In order to prove her innocence, Anitra offers up an alibi.
I was at work last night.
What time did you eat?
I got up around 9.
Pressed on her whereabouts the evening before the murder, Anitra claims she was home. But what she says next floors detectives.
Alone?
For a little while, but Quincy came over.
The night prior to Tamika Norton's murder, Quincy Norton had spent the evening with her, Anitra Johnson, at her residence in Milpitas.
According to Anitra, even though Quincy had promised to be true to Tamika, he and Anitra had recently rekindled their affair.
Quincy and I have been seeing each other a lot for the past couple of months.
Did Tamika know about this?
I don't think so.
Anitra tells police that the night before Tamika's murder, Quincy came over to her place around 9 p.m. The two of them went right to the bedroom where they had a passionate sexual encounter. Afterward, Anitra decided the time was right to ask Quincy to take their relationship to the next level.
And I missed you. I want to see you every day. When are you going to leave her?
You did want him to leave Tamika.
I wanted him to leave Tamika, but he said he was not going to leave Tamika and his family.
It's not even an option. I'm not even gonna talk about this.
According to Anitra, Quincy told her that as long as his children were around, he and Tamika would never separate, and Anitra would always be the other woman.
He said he was going to get back with Tamika, that in fact he was not leaving her, there was not going to be a divorce.
Then, without saying another word, Quincy put his clothes back on and headed home.
Anitra Johnson explained that Quincy Norton left her residence at about 4:30 a.m.
As for where Quincy went next, Anitra claims she doesn't know and swears she hasn't heard from him since. But her statement gets investigators thinking. If Anitra got rid of Tamika, she would have Quincy all to herself.
What do you think? Well, it's pretty suspicious.
But if Anitra did have a hand in Tamika's murder, did she also play a role in Quincy and the children's disappearance? If so, where are they now? Before investigators can even consider that question, a new witness walks into the police station. It's none other than Tamika's sister, Nicole Menace.
I wanted to be as helpful as I could at that point.
Nicole advises investigators to take a closer look at her sister's marriage to Quincy.
I hate to be the one to point fingers or anything like that, but have you looked at her husband, Quincy?
Turns out, Quincy's affair with Anitra Johnson wasn't the only dark chapter in the couple's romance. Quincy was convinced that Tamika was cheating on him too.
I know I shouldn't say anything, but this isn't the first time that, well, Quincy always thought that she was the one that was having an affair.
It got so bad, he would come to my home searching for her and searching through all the bedrooms looking for the man I was hiding for her.
According to Nicole, Quincy's obsession with Tamika's alleged infidelity led him to confront her on more than one occasion.
This particular night, he came home. She was asleep in the bed, and there was no conversation. He just came in because she was asleep. All she could make out was he was just saying, "Why are you cheating on me? Why are you doing this to me?"
Who is he?
Who?
Who is cheating on me with?
Is it possible Quincy's suspicions were correct?
I am not cheating on you.
Yes, you are. What's his name?
There is nobody.
You think I'm stupid?
Was Tamika really seeing someone else?
There is nobody.
I know you're cheating. You're never anywhere you say you are.
If that's the case, could Tamika's mystery lover have something to do with her murder? Or the possible abduction of Quincy and the kids? Before investigators can answer those questions, new evidence would come to light. Evidence that makes police question everything they thought they knew about the Norton family, about Anitra Johnson, about the death of Tamika McNorton, and about what really happened to Quincy and the kids. Tamika and Quincy Norton's relationship was born from a chance encounter that quickly morphed into a storybook romance. But on July 22nd, 2006, police discovered Tamika Norton brutally stabbed to death in the master bedroom of their home. Even more terrifying is the fact that Quincy and the couple's 2 young children are missing and possibly dead.
The concerns at this point were that the children themselves were in danger. Nobody knew where they were.
It was very scary, not knowing where the boys was at. We didn't know if they had been harmed, if they were going to be missing for a long time.
While officers scour the Bay Area for any sign of Quincy and the kids, a team of detectives is focused on tracking down Tamika's killer. After a series of surprising revelations, investigators have begun to circle around 2 possible suspects. Anitra Johnson, Quincy's on-again, off-again mistress and mother of his illegitimate child, or this mysterious man Quincy suspected Tamika might be sleeping with. But before detectives can determine if Tamika's secret boyfriend was real or just a figment of Quincy's imagination, they get another surprise visit from Tamika's sister, Nicole Menace. Nicole tells police she's just gotten the call she and everyone else have been waiting for. It was from Tamika and Quincy's oldest son, Jalen.
You have your brother with you. Are you safe? Okay, sweetie, where are you?
My nephew said that he was with his brother being driven back to my home. He needed to have directions how to get there, to lead the driver to my home.
According to Jalen, he and his brother Jamal are safe.
All right, have them take you to my house, and I'll come pick you up right there, okay? So you stay there.
For Tamika's worried family, the good news
Bring them back here.
couldn't have come at a moment too soon.
It was a big sigh of relief to know that they were unharmed and they were going to be returned to us.
The call from young Jalen raised as many questions as it provided answers. Namely, who were the kids with, and where was their father, Quincy? According to what Jalen told his aunt Nicole Menace over the phone, he and his brother Jamal had been staying with a family friend for the last 2 days, ever since their father abruptly dropped them off there early Saturday morning.
The children had been dropped off at an extended family friend's home in San Mateo by Quincy Norton.
But why would Quincy drop his kids off and not come back? And where was he now? To answer those questions, police needed to talk to the 2 boys. Once the boys are safely back in her custody, police asked Tamika's sister Nicole Menace to bring Jalen and Jamal down to the station. Sitting down with the boys, detectives asked them to explain why their dad dropped them off at a family friend's house. While clearly nervous, the boys tell investigators that it all started around 6:30 a.m. when Jalen was startled awake by his mother's voice screaming out his name.
Left his bedroom, crossed the hallway, and looked in through the open door.
In his parents' bedroom, Jalen says he saw something that shocked him.
He explained he saw his mother laying on her back on her bed and his father standing over her.
Jalen says he slowly backed out of the room, but before he could leave, his father turned his head to speak to him. And what Jalen saw terrified him.
He thought his father had been drinking because when he came into the room and saw his father holding his mother down, his father had red eyes.
Go back to bed.
Jalen says he ran back to his room, crawled into bed with his brother Jamal, and told him about the nightmare he'd just witnessed. By that point, their mother's screams had stopped, but the silence was soon broken by an equally disturbing sound.
The younger boy recalled hearing some sort of commotion, as if, I believe he described it as if somebody had fallen to the ground.
A few moments later, the boys say their father entered their bedroom.
Their father came out and said, "Come on, boys, we're going to leave."
Hey, boy, come on. You guys gotta get up. Let's go. Come on, get your stuff. Let's go. I need you guys, come on.
But before leaving the house, Jamal made one last request.
I want to say bye to Mom.
No, we don't have time for it. Come on.
Quincy told him no, he couldn't go in there.
Quincy then loaded the children into the car, drove across town, and dropped them off at a family friend's house. According to the boys, their father didn't say where he was going, but he promised he'd be back for them later. Jalen and Jamal never saw their father again. The boys' story is heartbreaking, but it paints a clear picture of the crime's new prime suspect.
Quincy Norton was considered a suspect in the murder of Tamika Norton.
Investigators put out a new APB for Quincy, this time as a man wanted for murder.
It was very important to me for them to find Quincy so we can get the answers that we needed.
What police didn't then know was before they could track down Quincy, they'd be blindsided with another surprise revelation. One that will have everyone second-guessing Quincy Norton's guilt and ask if the real killer is pulling the strings, trying to frame Quincy for the crime all along. Everyone who knew Tamika Mack and Quincy Norton thought the two were destined for a lifetime of happiness. But after listening to the horrific eyewitness account of the couple's two young sons, Jalen and Jamal, detectives are now convinced that Quincy murdered Tamika in a jealous rage and is now on the run. It's a theory that gains even more traction when detectives get a call from the coroner's office about a piece of evidence they discovered in one of Tamika's pants pockets.
When Ms. Norton's body was removed from the scene, they found in her pocket a card from a divorce lawyer.
We were sitting in the car together, and Tamika told me she was going to divorce Quincy, and she was done. She was tired, and she couldn't do it anymore, and that she had already started the process.
Tamika had reached a point where she realized that she needed to do something different, so she thought about divorce.
The discovery seems to offer further proof that a jealous and obsessive Quincy decided to kill his wife rather than allow her to divorce him.
What I understand to be the motive in a case like this is power and control. And when it appears that the victim is going to break off the relationship or is trying to break off the relationship, it's the most critical and dangerous time, because you're directly threatening that which the batterer wants the most, which is power.
It seems all that is left now is to hunt down Quincy Norton and bring him to justice. Unfortunately, the last time anyone saw Quincy was more than 3 days ago, when he dropped his children off at the home of a family friend. Detectives decide to turn to the one person Quincy might have reached out to, his mistress and the mother of his illegitimate child, Anitra Johnson.
We thought, in fact, she'd been playing a double game and she'd been helping Quincy stay at large.
When police bring Anitra back for questioning, she denies having had any contact with Quincy.
Why do I feel like you're not telling us the whole thing?
But when they threaten Anitra with obstruction of justice charges and a hefty prison sentence, she has a sudden change of heart.
Okay, wait.
According to Anitra, Quincy called shortly after dropping off his kids. Quincy told Anitra that he needed help, and he gave her some very specific instructions.
He told me to meet him at the airport so I could bring him a car.
We would later learn, in speaking with Anitra Johnson, that she did meet with Quincy Norton, at which time he took the vehicle from her.
But where had Quincy gone in the rental car? Anitra swears she doesn't know. And with no other clues to his whereabouts, investigators turn to the media, hoping viewers in the San Francisco Bay Area might have spotted Quincy or his rental car.
The news coverage during the manhunt was quite extensive. The phrase Peninsula Killer was used in the headlines.
But despite the media blitz, days passed with no information. In the meantime, Tamika's family holds a memorial service for her, with sons Jalen and Jamal looking on. Their mother is laid to rest in Cypress Lawn Cemetery. Then finally, on August 27th, more than a month after Tamika's murder, there's a break in the case. It starts when detectives are contacted by an anonymous caller who claims to have spotted Quincy Norton's rental car outside a rundown apartment complex in nearby San Jose. Investigators relay the information to the San Jose Police Department. A few hours later, they get the call they've been waiting for.
August 27th, received a call from San Jose Police Department stating that they had arrested Quincy Norton.
He was standing there waiting for a bus, and police approached him and just took him into custody without incident.
Hauled back to Daly City, Quincy's booked on murder charges for the savage death of his wife. His mistress, Anitra Johnson, is also charged for aiding in his escape. For Tamika's family, the fact that the father of her children has been charged with her murder is nothing short of devastating.
I was shocked to think that he would really do that because he seemed to be so obsessed with her, and that's such a final act. I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. The mixture of feelings, just angry, sad, really hard to stay composed.
Quincy Norton's trial is scheduled to begin in early 2008. With the Norton children's own testimony as the cornerstone of their case, prosecutors are confident they'll secure a conviction. But that changes when police get an unexpected call from the crime lab. Apparently, the kitchen knives collected from the Norton home had been thoroughly analyzed. There's 2 sets of DNA on the murder weapon.
Tamika was the one who had the majority of the DNA on the knife.
But that's not the shocking part. The second DNA profile, presumably that of the murderer, doesn't belong to Quincy Norton.
There was no DNA from Quincy Norton. There was DNA from Anitra Johnson, as well as DNA from Tamika Norton.
It's earth-shattering evidence and suggests that Anitra Johnson, not Quincy Norton, is Tamika's true killer.
That suggested, of course, that the defense might well try and blame it on Anitra. And of course, Anitra and Tamika had had some encounters before, and that there was bad blood between the two for obvious reasons.
There aren't that many trials that I've covered where you kind of have that, oh my goodness, big moment.
In an instant, the state's once rock-solid case is now on extremely shaky footing and has everyone wondering, is an innocent man about to stand trial for a crime he didn't commit?
You have a good day, okay, brother?
In the summer of 2006, the brutal slaying of 32-year-old wife and mother Tamika Norton stunned the San Francisco Bay Area.
We were horrified. Our worst fears were coming true.
Even more shocking is the news that Tamika's husband, Quincy Norton, has been charged with the murder. But the most jaw-dropping revelation occurs on the eve of Quincy's murder trial. DNA evidence from the murder weapon has come back from the crime lab. According to the results, Quincy's DNA is nowhere to be found on the knife. Instead, the crime lab finds DNA matching Quincy's longtime mistress, Anitra Johnson.
Her DNA was on the handle of the murder weapon. When I heard that Anitra Johnson's DNA was on the knife, I thought the case would probably be in jeopardy because that's reasonable doubt.
Once the knife evidence came out, Quincy's attorney, Ms. Fox, told me and everyone else in the media she expected the prosecutors to drop all charges right then and arrest Anitra.
But rather than drop the murder charges against Quincy and pursue heftier charges against Anitra, the state announces they'll proceed with his trial. It is amidst this chaos and controversy that the state of California versus Quincy Norton begins. Prosecutors opened their case by painting Quincy as a violent and controlling husband, whose own infidelity pushed his marriage with Tamika to the edge. An edge Quincy went over when he learned of Tamika's plans to divorce him.
Prosecution's opening statement was that Quincy was very jealous and controlling, and when he found out that she was going to divorce him, that was the last straw, and he killed her.
According to prosecutors, in the early morning hours of July 22nd, Quincy started drinking heavily and began entertaining paranoid fantasies that Tamika was cheating on him. Prosecutors claimed that an inebriated Quincy then entered the couple's bedroom where Tamika was asleep. Shaking Tamika awake, Quincy began to berate her with accusations of infidelity. Tamika in turn told Quincy she wanted a divorce, to which Quincy replied by strangling her. But before Quincy could finish the job, he was interrupted by his son Jalen.
The boy saw his mother laying on her back on her bed and his father standing over her.
Prosecutors assert that Quincy told his son to go back to bed.
Go back to bed, now!
Then once Jalen was gone, Quincy went to the kitchen, retrieved a knife, and stabbed Tamika to death.
I have never experienced a death like this or a crime like this.
It was a terrible, brutal crime.
To bolster their claim, prosecutors called their two key witnesses to the stand, Tamika and Quincy's two young sons, Jalen and Jamal. One after the other, the two boys described to the jury the horror of seeing their father attack their mother as she screamed for help. And then the terrible sound that followed. The sound prosecutors claim was that of Tamika's lifeless body hitting the floor.
I've covered a lot of murder trials, but the testimony of the children was the most difficult thing I've had to watch during a murder trial.
Jalen and Jamal's turns on the witness stand are indeed gut-wrenching and seem to cement the state's case against their father. But when the defense opens their case, they claim Quincy Norton is a man wrongfully accused, and the true killer is in fact the same woman whose DNA was found on the murder weapon, Quincy's lover, Anitra Johnson.
The defense's opening statement was raising a lot of doubt and a lot of concern, particularly about that knife. The defense implied that Anitra had a role in her death, that Anitra was pretty much all but guilty.
It's a compelling argument and seems to plant at least a seed of reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors. But in their closing arguments, the prosecution counters with a unique explanation of how Anitra's DNA could have been transferred to the knife without her ever wielding it.
What I used for the transfer was I shook hands with my inspector and picked up a book and said, now, if I put this book anywhere, I could take this book back to my office and my inspector's DNA could be in my office and he might never have been in my office.
They said that Quincy transferred the DNA without actually shedding any of his own.
Despite the explanation from prosecutors, Tamika's family worries that when the jury breaks the deliberation, the verdict could go either way.
It was very stressful, the idea of putting his fate into 12 strangers' hands.
6 long days later, the jury returns with their decision.
The jury convicted Mr. Norton of first-degree murder with the use of a knife.
The conviction carries a sentence of 26 years to life. Tamika's family is relieved by the decision.
We're all holding hands and just shaking and crying, trying to stay composed, but just very, very emotional.
But their joy is tempered with a sense that Quincy's punishment, while stiff, doesn't fit the crime.
I was happy that he received a first-degree conviction, but 26 years to life was just not long enough. In 26 years, he can be eligible for parole, and Tamika no longer has a life.
Their disappointment is doubled when they learn that Anitra Johnson was granted immunity for her cooperation with the prosecutors. In fact, several of those most familiar with the case suspect that Anitra might have been more than just an accessory to the crime.
If Quincy's not on the knife and Anitra is on the knife, you have to ask yourself, how did that happen?
It's this combination of suspicion and sadness that continues to hang over the case like a dark cloud. serving as a constant reminder that one fateful morning, a man fueled by alcohol and blinded by jealousy and rage murdered the love of his life, the mother of his children, and either with or without the help of his mistress, murdered an innocent woman.
I would have never thought this would happen to Tamika, never in a million years. In the beginning of their relationship, he was so loving. You could tell they both were in love with each other, and he just adored her. It just turned into something that was the total opposite of that.